Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome back. I've been doing some more homework. I got the rest of the copper lines set up, and I also filled out this copper patch with mining drills. So that gives us another 62 mining drills on copper, along with the, what do we got there, 34. So we got close to 100 mining drills on copper, which might be enough. I'm not sure. And then this monstrosity here, this is a 5-to-4 lane balancer. Because I've got 3 lanes here, I've got 2 lanes coming up here, and I want to split those off into 4, 1 for each of the smelting lines. So again, if you want to use this, use the blueprint book. If you don't want to use this, it's not that big of a deal. You know, you might have one line that's got less ore than the other ones, or maybe 2. But you know, this is not. If you don't want to get involved in this kind of a thing yet, then you'll be fine without it. It's not going to make or break you. Okay, now. I did another level of mining productivity. I finished number 4 while I was doing that. We have 5 to go. But then I noticed that we're out of plastic. And we're not making more plastic because we're not making petroleum. And the reason we're not making petroleum is because our light oil tank is completely full. Our lubricant tank is also completely full, so that means heavy oil is going to start to fill up. So in order to get this to continue producing, we need to start doing something with that light oil. So what I want to do now is research advanced oil processing, because that's what we need to get this to the next level. And what we're going to do next is we are going to start doing advanced oil processing. So we're going to change the recipe on this. This will allow us to, first of all, we'll be able to make more petroleum per cycle and less oil from the refineries. And then we also get recipes that allow us to turn heavy and light oil into petroleum, so that this stuff doesn't accumulate. So we'll be doing that next. So while we're waiting for that research to be done, I'll start putting a couple pipes on this other input, because you might remember that our other ingredient with advanced oil processing is water. So we'll just start running the plumbing for that. That research is going pretty quickly, so it won't take too much longer to finish. Now, I'm going to verify that I've got these hooked up to the right pipes before I start pumping oil in there, or before I start putting water in there. Because if the water mixes with oil, then I'm going to have to pull up all the pipes to get that fixed, and I don't relish the thought of doing that. So let's wait a moment while we get that finished. In the meantime, we can put down. Let's see, we can put in our offshore pump. Okay, great. So now that that's done, we'll get back to mining productivity. And so let's change these recipes to advanced oil. And I did guess right, but for some reason, making that change put a bunch of oil in my pipe anyway, so I guess we'll have to redo this. Not a big deal. Didn't take too long anyway. All right, so first let's copy that recipe to the rest of these. All right. And then we'll start getting some water pumped in here. There we go. And we'll bring up our water supply. And there we go. Okay. Now, you may remember that before, the basic recipe would give us 40 petroleum and then 30 heavy and 30 light. So it was a total of 40 petroleum and 60 oil. In this case, we get 55 petroleum and 55 oil. So like I said, you do get more petroleum. The downside is you get a lot less heavy oil, and there are some things like lubricant that need heavy oil. Light oil is not really used for anything except for solid fuel. Later on in the game, when we make solid fuel to make rocket fuel for the rocket, you can see that you can make solid fuel with 10 light oil or 20 petroleum or 20 heavy oil. So light oil is the best material to use to make solid fuel. Okay, now that this is set up, we need to do a couple of additional operations here. So the first one is going to be heavy oil cracking to light oil. Actually, let me give that a little bit more space. All right, heavy to light oil. So what this will do is it'll convert our extra heavy oil into light oil. And I'm taking the heavy oil after it gets to the lubricant. And actually, I'm even going to change this layout a little bit because I want to make sure that my lubricant is taken care of before I put any heavy oil into... Oh, I guess I could have done that the other way. That doesn't really help at all, does it? Okay. So anyway, the heavy oil will go first to the lubricant, and then whatever's left will come over here to be cracked into light oil. And then this light oil we can send into this tank. All right, so let's power this up. And we are going to need to give it some water. So let's bring a water line up. There. Okay. So this will start converting that heavy oil into light oil. All right, and as I mentioned before, the correct ratio to use on this is 8 machines, or 8 refineries, 1 machine cracking heavy to light, and then we need 7 machines that are going to crack the light into petroleum. So we can set those up now. Where would be a good place for those? I'd say right about here. 1, 2, 3. We need to leave a space in between each. 6, 7. Okay, and that's going to be light into petroleum. The reason we have to leave the space is because of the arrangement of the pipes. Because in order to do this kind of a thing here, you have to have a space in between each machine. Otherwise, the undergrounds will interfere with the other ones. Okay, so let's put 1 for oil and 2 for water. Let's get some power. Let's throw in a few lights. we can see what we're doing. All right, and then we do our undergrounds like we've been doing for the others. All right, and then you know what, for the output, I'm just going to use regular pipe all the way back. Okay, so all that petroleum will come back here into the tank where the rest of the petroleum is stored. All right, and then all that remains here is to get the oil and the water hooked up. Okay, and I don't think I'm mixing anything. All right, so now you can see we're turning our excess light oil into petroleum. So we should see our petroleum tank start to fill up a bit. It'll take a while because we need to refill the pipes. And we can see now that our plastic is back in production. Okay, and the light oil tank is slowly starting to reduce in fullness. Okay, so we are good to go with the oil, as long as we keep enough oil coming in. You can see that this tank is starting to drain fairly quickly. Oh, and I left a bunch of iron plates down there. Okay. So at some point we'll probably have to go get some more pump jacks and bring in some more oil. We may, because of the fact that we don't have a lot of oil close by, we may have to set up a train or two to bring in an oil tank. We'll see if we need to do that. Yeah, I just really don't see a lot of oil. We got this one over here. That one's bigger than this one was to begin with. The oil will... This started at 510%, which I think means 51 per second. Over time, oil will eventually diminish to, I believe it's 20% of what it started at. At that point, it'll continue cranking out the oil forever. But, you know, once this gets down to 20%, that's just not going to be enough to keep things running, and we'll need to bring in more oil. Our power, as we can see, is starting to get close to our limit. So I think this would be a good time to expand our power production. So let's start making, we're going to need another 20 boilers and 40 steam engines. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I did upgrade the copper bus to red belts during the break as well. All right, so I'm going to grab some of these old stone furnaces, 5, 10, 15, 20, and then we'll put the rest of those back in there. And then 20 boilers. I'm going to need a lot of gears, so I'm going to go ahead and grab all the gears I can over here to try to minimize the handcrafting. And let's grab pipe as well. So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Okay. And I've got lots of power poles. I could use more lights as well. I'll just start crafting some of those by hand. We could even set up lights here. Let's do that. don't have iron there. Okay, lights require iron sticks, which have very little use in the game, besides lights and I think train rails. Oops. Oh, I need iron plate too. Didn't realize that. Okay, let's put this pole over here. There we go. All right, speaking of lights, let's put one there. Okay, so I think we're all set. The other thing we're gonna need are 20 burner inserters, one for each furnace. And I have more mining drills. We'll probably need to put some more mining drills on the coal to make sure we get enough fuel coming down there. I spoke of solid fuel earlier. That is also another thing that you can do with excess light oil, is turn it into solid fuel and use that for your power production. The nice thing about solid fuel is that it has a higher energy density than, yeah, this one's mined out. It has a higher energy density than coal does. One piece of solid fuel has 25 megajoules of energy versus coal, which I think has 10. So, to make a long story short, solid fuel will burn longer. And you don't have to feed as much of it into your furnaces. All right. Yeah, and I'm going to upgrade this to a red belt. There we go. This is the one. Yeah, that is the one going to our power. All right, so let's start upgrading this belt to red. I don't know if I've got enough belts with me to make it the whole way. No, I don't. Okay, we'll come back and finish that up. We just want to make sure we don't run out of power. It's very distressing to run out of electricity. The reason for that is that because our coal mining depends on electricity to run, once the electricity starts to run low, the coal miners will slow down. And when that happens, you make less electricity, and it's what they call a negative feedback loop. And the situation just gets worse and worse. And really the only way to fix it is to start disconnecting things from the electricity until you can get your coal mining running again. So that's why I always keep a close eye on the power situation to make sure I'm staying ahead of the requirements. Okay, and then a space of 1. All right, and then I'm going to need 20 more pipes. I'll make a few extra for good measure. Let's see. And power poles, it looks like we're doing like this, right? Yeah. And then we're putting lights next to those. Now you could hear the steam engines kick in as soon as I put that first light in, because until then there was nothing else using electricity. We have to remember to connect this to the rest of the grid, because right now this is powering nothing except for these lights. All right, and then we just go connect these steam engines together, and that will double our electrical capacity. Put that there, we'll put that there, let me remove that, and we'll put the radar right there. Okay, right, so now we can see we've got much more energy capacity. We just need to finish upgrading this belt to red to make sure we get plenty of fuel going down there. Again, let's see, these are mined out up here, so we can remove those. I don't recall the exact numbers. I want to say that 2 rows of furnaces like that needs a red belt, but I could be off by a factor of 2. I'd have to go and look that up again. So let's go grab some belt, and then we'll finish that off. And then in the next episode, we'll start setting up military science packs, which are next on our list. We can see that the Science Pack 3s are doing great. This belt is actually quite full. Now, I think the reason that that belt is filling up is because we determined our number of labs based on 30 seconds per research point. And this research actually takes 60 seconds. So that's why the science packs are backing up. We could actually double the labs for this research. But I'll just leave it with the 22 that we already have. I think we're still in the situation where we're researching things faster than we can actually make use of them. So I'm not in a big hurry to make a change there. One of these days I'm going to remove that rock. A car would be nice. We might want to make a car so that we can move around more quickly, because this running around gets to be a little bit tedious. Alright, this is where we left the yellow belts. I'm going to run on the belt to get a little extra speed. Alright, now red belt is as far as we can go with this. The burner inserters are too slow to pull items off of a blue belt. So if this was upgraded to blue, if it wasn't backed up like it is now, where things are standing still, you know, if things were whizzing by at blue belt speeds, the burner inserters wouldn't be able to grab anything. They would keep trying, and then they would eventually just run out of fuel. And you would be out of electricity, which would not be good. Okay, well, that is going to do it for now. Until next time, I'll see you later.